which leads me to another theme, a theme of imagination. And I think it's really nice when you work with people where there's an allowance for the space for ideas. And I remember sort of every time I brought something too fixed to a session, when I think back, it often hasn't worked out, especially when what I have brought is sort of over-directive or prescriptive. And I remember a time I was working with a young person whose family was struggling with their housing, and there was a tension between the family and his neighbours, and his neighbours who were complaining about this young person, and it was resulting in him feeling very unsettled in his life. And we held the FGC in this community centre, and I brought these sort of huge blocks with me that I had at the time, these foam blocks that we were messing around with. And at the start of the family conference, I asked the family to work together to create a house out of these blocks, so I thought this was like a real good symbolic activity. But it didn't work out that way. They didn't want to do it that way, and in fact the young person did use the giant foam, but he interacted with the blocks in his own way, and he kind of put his spin on it and spelled out his name in the foam, and still created a talking point. And it taught me a lesson about leaving the space for others' ideas, and especially as a professional with a defined role. Sometimes you've got to work harder to sort of take off your lanyard and scale back, your sort of professional expectations in a way, and open up the space for others to use their imagination. And recently I encountered a lovely example of this. We were with a group of parents, and we asked them to do this sort of word association game where, like, the last word leads on from the word leads on from the final letter of the last word said. Yeah. Sounds complex, doesn't it? Well, a father in this room, who was in the circle, kind of said, well, he didn't want to play the word game. He had a word that was important to him, that was significant, a word that, the idea of the exercise was words that were meaningful, generate some words that describe the activity in this particular group. And he said his word was dandelion, and that he'd written a poem about it recently, and he read out this poem, and it was beautiful, and he talked about the buds of a dandelion that are packed tight together until it's released, and the seeds are released, and they float and seed in new places. And so we'd been searching for words, standard words to describe this activity, inspiring, empowering, la la la, and he'd just come left field and said dandelion is the word I want, and it described it so well. He'd really connected with others in the group, and his suggestion has gone on to become this name of the group in Telford called the Dandelion Group. And if you excuse the pun, I think he really got to the root of the activity in a way we didn't anticipate. And I found you need people with imagination as professionals. As we run the lines and do standard things, sometimes we need provocateurs in the space, people with a different angle on the topic. And this concept was writ large when Seth Oliver of 4 Bars, artist, created a giant banner emblazoned with the Victor Hugo catchline, "To love is to act," and brought it to one of our events in King's Cross. And that phrase, "to love is to act," is really expressing something for us about how we want to work with values, how we want to get going and do things with people. And it's really caught the imagination, and we've taken this banner, the "To love is to act" banner, all over the place now. Activist meetings in Kentish Town, Bath, Cardiff. It's even made its way to Turku and Oslo in Europe.